Good morning, Canada. I'm about another question here. Today's October 1st, 2025. October. Where has the time gone? My goodness, man. It's just, it doesn't wait for anybody, huh? It just keeps going. I thought yesterday was January 3rd, 2022. Like, it just, poof, disappears into the abyss. But here we are. Question period resumes today after a extended period off, because yesterday, as we know, was one of the most important holidays in Canada. It was Truth and Reconciliation. Yeah, that's what it's called. Of course, I'm being facetious. It's a interesting kind of holiday that is quite new in Canada, but here we are. We're reconciling the truth, I suppose. So they took Monday and Tuesday off, but now we're back Wednesday, and it's a new month, October 1st. So here we go. We've got Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney in the house. Canada is still Canadian, sort of. It's a little Indian now. A lot of Tim Hortons footage coming out where it's showing who's really running Canada. But we're going to get to the Canadian stuff in a bit, because there's an actual screen is frozen. What do you mean the screen is frozen? My screen is frozen? Oh, for fuck's sakes. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to start off by taking a look at this anyways. Here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Packed house here today, and I have a very special guest with us, the Vice President of the United States. He'll deliver some remarks and take some questions. First, I just want to share remarks of my own. Democrats in Congress have officially shut down the United States government. House Republicans passed a nonpartisan, clean piece of legislation to extend current government funding until November 21st. But nearly every single Democrat senator voted against this bill. To be clear, this was the exact same bill that Democrats approved 6 short months ago in March, just adjusted for inflation. This is the same kind of clean funding bill that Democrats passed 13 separate times when they held the majority during Joe Biden's administration. So the American people woke up this morning and asked the obvious question: why is the government shut down right now? The answer is pure partisan politics being played by the Democrat Party. The Democrats shut down the government because President Trump and the Republicans will not force American taxpayers to pay for free health care for illegal aliens. America is $37 trillion in debt. We cannot afford to provide taxpayer-funded free health care to illegals who broke the law to enter our country. To put this all into perspective, the Democrats refused to keep the government open over health care to illegal aliens, and now have jeopardized critical health care programs for American citizens instead. The Women, Infants, and Children program, community health center funding, Medicare treatment options, and other health programs are now all at risk because of the Democrats rejecting the clean CR. The most vulnerable in our country are being punished because the Democrats want to prioritize illegals over American citizens. And if Democrats actually cared about health care, they would applaud the actions taken by President Trump just yesterday in the Oval Office. He took a bold and massively popular action to improve our health care system. He announced the first agreement with a major pharmaceutical company, Pfizer, to lower drug costs for Americans. This is a historical achievement long sought by past Democrat presidents that only President Trump was able to get done. Also yesterday, while the Democrats were whining about health care for illegal aliens, President Trump signed a powerful executive order to supercharge American AI innovation and unlock cures for pediatric cancer patients in the United States. While President Trump took action to lower drug prices and improve the lives and the care of American children with cancer, again, Democrats are fighting to give health care benefits to illegal aliens. The Trump administration is fully committed to lowering healthcare costs and advancing policies that will save American lives. But right now, we need to keep the government open and funded. And individuals and organizations across the political spectrum, across the country, agree with the Trump administration and Republicans. The labor union leader, the Teamsters, Sean O'Brien, sent a very blunt message to Democrats over their destructive antics. He said American workers are not bargaining chips. Senators need to stop screwing around and pass the House-passed clean short-term funding bill. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the world's largest business organization, called to immediately pass the Republican clean CR, saying, quote, shutdowns are harmful to the economy, the American people, and our national security. And even Democrat Senators Cortez Masto and Fetterman acknowledged that their party is betraying the American people with this costly and chaotic Democrat shutdown. Yeah. Enough is enough. Democrats need to stop sabotaging our country and holding the American people hostage in the country. Democrats need to do their jobs. The American people want the government reopened, and this is proven in a New York Times poll showing that 2 in 3 Americans say the government should not be shut down by the Democrats, even if their absurd demands are not met. The president and Republicans are working very hard to reopen the federal government. The vice president here has been crucial in this effort. We encourage all Americans across the country, call your Democrat senators and encourage them to reopen the government. That's what President Trump and the vice president want to do. And with that, I will turn it over to our great vice president, J.D. Vance.
Great. Well, thank you, Caroline, and good afternoon to everybody, and good afternoon.
This is insane that this is going on with China really eyeing Taiwan and smacking their lips, and Russia's aggression, has been picking up towards not just Ukraine, but like other NATO countries as well, right? Entering their airspace for government shutdown. It really puts America in a tricky situation if we are actually on the verge of some sort of conflict and or war, right? And the president did just say that he wants all ballistic missile manufacturers to ramp up production, to double it, right? So obviously they know something and they're anticipating something. And so for the Democrats to shut down government, absolutely insane timing for this to happen right now.
To everybody who's watching at home. It's a tough act to follow, but let me just say a few things, and then I'll take a few questions. Number one, Democrats say that they care a lot about lowering health care costs, and yet when the president took historic action to work with the drug companies to lower prescription drug prices, the Democrats did nothing to help us. In fact, we would have loved to have the Democrats helping us, but they didn't. They talk about doing something. They don't actually do the hard work of making it happen. What they have done instead is to shut down the government because we won't give billions of dollars to health care funding for illegal aliens. That is what has actually happened. To the American people who are watching, the reason your government is shut down at this very minute is because, despite the fact that the overwhelming majority of congressional Republicans and even a few moderate Democrats supported opening the government, the Chuck Schumer AOC wing of the Democratic Party shut down the government because they said to us, we will open the government, but only if you give billions of dollars of funding for health care for illegal aliens. That's a ridiculous proposition. Let me say two other quick things, and then again, I'll take some questions. Number one, we all understand that Democrats and Republicans have policy disagreements. The Democrats want to do things. Look, when Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries were in here a couple of days ago, they made some suggestions that the president was more than happy to say, yes, let's sit down and talk about how we can solve the health care crisis that we inherited from the Biden administration. But it's one thing to say that we should solve the health care crisis for Americans. It's another thing to say that we're going to shut down the government unless we give the Democrats every single thing that they want, which, as Caroline says, includes giving billions of dollars of taxpayer funding for health care for illegal migrants. That's ridiculous. You don't have policy disagreements that serve as the basis for a government shutdown. Let's have the conversation about how to fix American health care, about how to make health care more accessible. As the president showed, he's more than willing to act on behalf of the American people for this very reason. What you don't do is say, unless you do exactly what we want to do as congressional Democrats, we're taken hostage. And And the hostage, it turns out, is critical, essential services that the American people need. Caroline talked about some of it. Let me talk about some more. Our troops are not getting paid starting today because of the Chuck Schumer wing of the Democratic Party. We have people who require food assistance, low-income Americans who require food assistance, who will not get it unless we reopen the government, thanks to Chuck Schumer and his wing of the Democratic Party. We have flood insurance as we start hurricane season in the southeastern part of our country. That flood insurance is going to disappear because of Chuck Schumer and the far left of the Democratic Party. We need to reopen the government. Let's fix America's problems. Let's work together to solve them. But let's reopen the government before we have our negotiation about health care policy. That's what the American people demand, and that's certainly what the President of the United States wants. Let me make one final point. I think a lot of Americans are asking themselves, why did this happen? Why did the Democrats shut down the government despite, as Caroline said, voting on the exact same piece of legislation 6 months ago? And there are a lot of different spins that we can put on it, a lot of different answers that we could give, all of them true. One answer I already gave is that they want to give health care benefits to illegal aliens. That is true. They gave us legislative text that would have undone us cutting off health care benefits for illegal aliens. That's one of the things that they asked for. But the reality here, and let's be honest about the politics, is that Chuck Schumer is terrified she's going to get a primary challenge from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The reason why the American people's government is shut down is because Chuck Schumer is listening to the far left radicals in his own party because he's terrified of a primary challenge. So I'd invite Chuck Schumer to join the moderate Democrats and 52 Senate Republicans, do the right thing, open up the people's government, and then let's fix health care policy for the American people. Questions?
Mr. Vice President.
That's a lot. Matt Boyle.
Okay. Mr. Vice President, there's two key Democrat lies I would like to get your take on and see if you can address. The first is that you're seeing a number of top Democrat leaders, from Kamala Harris to Chuck Schumer to Hakeem Jeffries, claim that it is a Republican shutdown caused by Trump. The second is that they're out there now claiming that they don't want to give health care to illegal aliens. Can you address both of those lies from the Democrat Party?
Yeah, so on the point that it's a Republican shutdown, look, it's obviously a Democratic shutdown. Just look at the vote totals in the House, look at the vote totals in the Senate, and look at the President of the United States' own action and conduct throughout this crisis. Nearly every single House Republican voted to open the government, Matt. Nearly every single Senate Republican voted to open the government last night. And even to their credit, a few moderate Democrats voted to open the government. That's not a Republican shutdown when nearly every single Senate Democrat votes to shut it down and every Republican voted to open it up. It's just obviously not true. Now, you can disagree about a number of things, but you can't disagree about the obvious fact that Republicans voted to open the government. The president stands ready to sign that opening of the government. We just need a few more Democrats to join us in that effort to open the government. Your final question about illegal alien benefits. Look, the text is very clear, and I even saw, I think it was George Stephanopoulos in an interview with Mike Johnson, did a fact check that was totally rooted in baseless claims. It was basically Democrat propaganda. If you look at the legislative text that they gave us, they tried to turn on two separate provisions that would give health care benefits to illegal aliens. Number one, if you're an American citizen, you've been to a hospital in the last few years, you probably noticed that wait times are especially large, and very often somebody who's there in the emergency room waiting is an illegal alien, very often a person who can't even speak English. Why do those people get health care benefits at hospitals paid for by American citizens? The answer is a decision made by the Biden administration that the Trump administration, working with congressional Republicans, undid. We turned off that money spigot to health care funding for illegal aliens. The Democrats, in their legislative text, want to turn it back on. That's one thing. The second thing, Matt, is we all know that there are various ways in which the Biden administration waved away illegal immigration status. They gave parolees, they gave asylum claims to people who weren't really claiming asylum. And when they waved the magic wand of amnesty, giving millions of people legal status even though they were in the country illegally, they also gave those people access to health care benefits. So what the Democrats are engaging in is a sleight of hand. They're saying, no, no, no. Those weren't illegal aliens who were getting health care benefits, even though everybody, knows they were in the country illegally. It's a lie told by the Democrats that they're not trying to give health care benefits to illegal aliens. It's a lie that is obviously untrue if you just look at the text that they gave us. And all you have to do is understand that this is about who benefits. We think the American people's government ought to benefit American citizens. The Democrats are willing to shut it down to benefit illegal aliens. The contrast couldn't be more clear. Peter.
Thank you, Vice President Vance. The big holdup is, of course, that you guys say illegal immigrants are getting taxpayer-funded health care. Democrats say you're lying. That makes it feel like it could be a really long shutdown. Is this going to be a long shutdown?
You know, I don't know. I can't predict what congressional Democrats are going to do, Peter, but I actually don't think it's going to be that long of a shutdown. This is a pure...
I think it's very easily proven that that illegal aliens are actually getting health care in America by the taxpayers. Like, there's articles that show that even in California, I think they spent like $8 billion or something like that on some sort of Medicare for illegal aliens. So it's a real thing that's going on, right? Canada has a similar problem that we just reward non-Canadian citizens. We reward outsiders first before we actually reward law-abiding Canadian citizens. So it's gross. It really is gross. The radical left really has a way of ruining good things.
Guess from the Vice President of the United States, because I think you already saw some evidence that moderate Democrats are cracking a little bit. They understand the fundamental illogic of this. Look, for years, one of us we can remember Barack Obama on the White House lawn. We can remember Chuck Schumer. We can remember, Nancy Pelosi. For years, in Chuck Schumer's case, for literally decades, we've heard them say you don't shut the government down over policy disagreement. Okay, Republicans think this thing about health care, that thing about health care. Democrats think this thing about immigration. Republicans disagree. Whatever those disagreements are, you don't shut down the government over it. For the first time since the Democrats have been in politics, they're now saying that unless we get every policy item that we demand, we're going to shut down the people's government. They're trying to take a hostage, and we're not going to let them.
And the administration announced today that $18 billion bound for New York transportation projects is going to be frozen so it can't go to DEI programs there. But the timing of this, does announcing that today mean that you guys are going to squeeze Chuck Schumer's home state until he blinks?
Look, I haven't talked to Russ about this morning, but look, I'm sure that Russ is heartbroken about the fact that he's unable to give certain things to certain constituencies. We want to do everything that we can to help the American people, but when the Democrats shut down the government, we have to actually do a little triage to make sure the most critical and most essential services are provided. The government does a lot of things. Of course, Republicans think that the federal government probably does too much, but there are a lot of critical things the federal government does that absolutely all of us would agree need to do. Our troops need to get paid. Our air traffic controllers need to make sure that people are flying safely and on time. We need low-income people to be able to access the food services that are provided by the federal government. There are critical things that need to be saved. We're going to do everything that we can over the coming weeks, if the shutdown lasts that long, to ensure that people get the essential services that they need, despite the fact that Chuck Schumer has shut down the federal government. It's not going to be perfect because we are in a government shutdown. We are going to have to lay some people off if the shutdown continues. We don't like that. We don't necessarily want to do it, but we're going to do what we have to keep the American people's essential services continuing to run.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and thank you for being here. Yesterday, President Trump said, as a result of the shutdown, we'll be laying off a lot of people that are going to be very affected, and the Democrats, they are going to be Democrats. Has the administration asked agencies to target federal workers who they believe to be Democrats in these reductions of forces?
We're not targeting federal agencies based on politics. We're targeting the people's government so that as much as possible of the essential services can continue to function. That is the question the president has asked the entire government, is fundamentally, okay, we're in a shutdown. That causes some problems. The troops aren't getting paid. There's nothing that we can do about that while the government is shut down. But there are essential services that we want to make sure as much as possible they still continue to function. That is the principle that's driving us forward during this shutdown. It's going to continue to be the principle that drives us forward. But let's be honest, if this thing drags on for another few days or, God forbid, another few weeks, we are going to have to lay people off. We're going to have to save money in some places so that essential services don't get turned off in other places. That is the reality of the government shutdown that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have foisted upon the administration.
So what did he mean by they're going to be Democrats? He said they're going to be Democrats.
You've laid out a lot of the pain and problems that would come with a Democratic shutdown, and yet in the Oval Office yesterday, the president said that a lot of good could come from a shutdown. So square that circle. Which is it, a Democratic-caused crisis or a Republican opportunity for reform?
Well, I think all the president is saying, Phil, is that he wants to make sure the American people's government functions as well as it can, despite the fact that we're in a shutdown. We're going to have to make things work. And that means that we're going to have to triage some certain things. That means certain people are going to have to get laid off. And we're going to try to make sure that the American people suffer as little as possible from this shutdown. That's what the president is saying, is that, yes, this is a bad thing. Obviously, the president is trying to reopen the government, but we're going to make things work as well as we possibly can, given the constraints that we have.
And then on those policy differences for the discussion and the negotiations to come later, during the Biden administration, Democrats twice voted to expand these Affordable Care Act tax credits, but those were supposed to be temporary, and they were slated to expire at the end of the year. As you sort of crack the door open to negotiation at a later date, would the party that ran on defunding Obamacare really negotiate about potentially expanding Obamacare?
Well, Phil, what we've said to the Democrats is that we're willing to have a conversation about how to ensure that Americans continue to have access to health care, and frankly, they should have access to better health care at a lower cost. We inherited a mess of a health care system from the Biden administration. It's why the president has worked so hard on the most favored nation status for prescription drugs. It's why we care so much about lowering the cost of prescriptions and why we're doing everything else. We're willing to have that conversation, but I think it's important to bracket the health care policy conversation because it's separate from the government shutdown. We think that we can open the government and then have the conversation about what best health care policy to fit the needs of the American people. That's all we're trying to do. That's all we're trying to accomplish. We've got to...
Okay. Yeah, so we're just kind of going in circles. Democrat, government shutdown. We all kind of catch the premise here, and I see some people are getting a little antsiness going on in the chat. I see you guys, don't worry. People going, when's the Canadian stuff happening? Folks, Canada's soon going to be American. Get used to it. For those that are wanting the Canadian news, we're not going to get into the Canadian news because Canada is such an interesting country, folks. The first bit of Canadian news that we're taking a look at is the fact that the United States president said again that Canada should be the 51st state. This is how tied at the hip Canada is to America. If you want Canadian-only news, it doesn't even exist because Canada is going to be, according to Trump, the 51st state.
About this agreement with Pfizer, Trump was speaking in Virginia to military officials. What was happening on that front? And we know that he raised the issue once again of Canada being a 51st state.
That's right, Arthi. It was a gathering of generals, of the nation's leading generals, I should say, and a really rare and almost unprecedented meeting. And while addressing these generals, Trump touched upon several points. He spoke after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth had given a pretty long and impassioned address to his generals outlining his vision for the military. Hegseth railed against what he viewed as woke policies of previous administrations and said he wanted a tougher military more akin to what it was like in the 1990s. And Trump essentially mirrored everything that Hegseth had to say. He said that he wanted a larger military and was willing to pay for it. Take a listen.
But as leaders, our commitment to every patriot who put on the uniform is to ensure that American military remains the most lethal and dominant on the planet, not merely for a few years, but for the decades and generations to come, for centuries. We must be so strong that no nation will dare challenge us, so powerful that no enemy will dare threaten us, and so capable that no adversary can even think about beating us.
And this was a long speech. Trump spoke for over 70 minutes. He made lots of turns throughout it. He discussed his ability at length to solve conflicts, including potentially the war in Gaza. He said if he is successful in ending that war, he believes he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. And of course, Arthi, as you mentioned, he took aim at Canada, once again resurfacing the 51st state comments, saying that if Canada wants to join the Golden Dome protect missile defense system, they should just join the U.S. And he also said that Canada had been struggling because of tariffs.
So funny.
Yes. Willie, thank you for this. That is the CBC's Willie Lowry.
Do you understand the significance of this? Do you understand? President Trump could have talked about anything during this speech. He could have talked about Greenland. He could have talked about Greenland and how America needs it. He could have talked about the Panama Canal. He could have talked about how he's renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. He could have talked about literally anything. And he chose to mention Canada being the 51st state at one of the most anticipated speeches by the president. It's insane. He recalled all of the top brass to one location, which, by the way, is a massive security risk. The amount of security there must have been through the roof. Like, that's very rarely ever happened in the history of America. All the top brass for the world's most powerful military under one roof. And he talked about how Canada should become the 51st state. It's just so funny. And Canadian media is melting down over it. Let's have a look at this one.
We go again. CTV News political analyst Scott Ree joins us now with more. Scott, great to see you. Now, we haven't heard from the president on the 51st state comments since Carney and Trump met at the Oval Office, between the meeting between those two leaders. What's your take? Why now?
You could almost feel this coming. You know, if you look at the arc of the last few days, these sort of random tariff announcements with no detail, they don't seem to make any sense. In part, you know, they affect Canada, but many other countries. And, you know, standing before all these military leaders, this grand spectacle that looks like something of a sort of tin pot dictator show, you can tell the president wants to boast about his lacking war records.
America is on the verge of war, and this guy has the audacity to say it's something that a dictator would do. China is getting ready to invade Taiwan. Russia is getting ready to ramp up their attacks on Ukraine, and they've been encroaching on other NATO countries. North Korea is sitting in their isolated off-grid encampment waiting to launch their millions of meat shields to go and die from bullets from America and their rockets that might not even take off properly, because who knows what they really use in North Korea to do anything other than just sheer, you know, malnourished manpower. And this guy has the audacity to say that this was something of a dictator, to recall all of the top brass of a country. This is how weird Canada is. To show actual strength is somehow being a dictator. This is why Canada doesn't win at anything. Didn't we lose to America even in hockey? It's like our one thing that we're actually good at, and we lost. Canada can't seem to win anything.
He wants to boast about territorial expansion. So, of course, the 51st state idea comes up. And sometimes you have to wonder if Donald Trump wants to be president of the United States in 2025 or 1825, because between tariffs and territorial expansion, these sound like the agenda of a president from the 19th century.
And also, Scott, I wonder, we know that the Prime Minister has been on calls with the President. He did speak about the fact that they were on a call very recently, too. I mean, does this really come up between them after that meeting during on May 6th? Or is it just something he just likes to bring up every now and then?
I think it's typical of the president. I think you have to put it in the context. He's looking for distractions. He's standing in front of military leaders. He wants to boast and be the big guy. He wants to talk about territorial expansion. Why doesn't Canada just want to be part of us? You know, the sort of uneasy implication being, I've got a bunch of tanks and airplanes here. Look at them all rolled out in front of me. So I think it's just off the top of his head rhetoric that comes out in the setting. And also remember, Trump has domestic political problems. He's facing a government shutdown within hours. The Epstein files continue to hang around him. So yesterday it was a string of random tariffs without any explanation or detail. Today it's talk of 51st state and warring against other nations. These things are part of his playbook. He throws stuff out as chum in the water to distract from troubles and political problems that he's dealing with concurrently.
How much of this is...
Canada has no comprehension of real leadership. This guy, this angry little, I feel like if this guy was being raised now, if he was growing up right now with how angry and radical his views are, potentially this guy could have been, one of these radical leftists that we see on the news with a gun in their hand that have committed atrocious acts, right? That's, allegedly, hypothetically, just based off of his aura. Very weird and dark. They think that Trump is like a toddler and he just says a bunch of random things to distract. Seagulls are not really seagulls. Seagulls are water birds that fly. Like, that's not what Trump is doing at all. He recalled all of the top brass to actually lay out a plan and to tell people, hey, get ready for war. It's coming. That was the underlying message, right, of what was said at that massive meeting. Yeah, it's just so weird.
It's got to do with the frustration. He's unable to get that deal with Canada. The fact we have NAFTA or CUSMA still in place and we have about 85% goods that are tariff-free. How much of that frustration do you think is at play here?
Canada is the autistic kid that's being bullied on the bus, okay, on the way to school. And we think that because we're going into a new grade that it's all going to stop. And we need to learn to stand up and fight or something like that. Like, that's not a good example. I shouldn't have even used autistic as an example. Canada is just a kid that keeps getting bullied. And we think that maybe if we just, say some words, it's going to end. No, if you want to stop being bullied, go to the gym, do some bench press, puff up your chest, and then you mess up the bully, right? But that's never going to happen because Canada has no comprehension of real world effects. Canada lives in this utopia where we somehow, it's illegal what America's doing. It's not fair what America's doing. America's its own country. America is not, the United States is not, their responsibility is not taking care of Canada. Okay, I don't know why these analysts seem to think that that's America's first and most important priority.
I think he thinks about us a lot less than that. I don't think he's frustrated about those things. I think he would like to see CUSMA, and a big fear we must have is that he'd like to see CUSMA go away because he likes to randomly apply tariffs. He sincerely believes that they're a source of income for his country and they'll somehow regenerate the industrial base of the United States. Those things are not proving to be true, and they will not prove to be true. But I think it's more of a reflex than a sense of broad frustration as he surveys analytically the state of Canada-U.S. trade. I don't think he thinks in those terms. I don't think he thinks that deeply, to be blunt.
Okay, CTV News political analyst.
It's crazy for this random would have been school shooter, okay, to be saying that the president of the United States doesn't think that deeply about these massive trade issues. One of the world's most successful businessmen, president of the United States, twice, and somehow Trump's the idiot. Not Scott Reed, but Trump. Apparently, according to this random political analyst in Canada, Trump is the idiot. My goodness. Canada is seriously mentally ill. Now we're going to look at cheese, because Canada halts the importation of some European cheese following lumpy skin disease outbreak. This is Canadian news, ladies and gentlemen. Cheese.
This is a product that we could never see again if the ban is not lifted. This would be catastrophic.
Alarm at the cheese shop as the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has banned the import of certain European cheeses made with raw milk.
This is the Comté we were mentioning before.
This fruity French Comté is one of them. So is the big wheel of Swiss Gruyère next to it.
These are probably my two best sellers.
Other cheeses include Parmigiano Reggiano and Emmental, as well as soft raw milk cheeses that Gilles Jourdain says says won't be available this Christmas.
Soft raw milk cheeses, Reblochon, Brie de Meaux, Camembert, Saint-Marcelin. And unfortunately, the most tragic one is the Christmas cheese called Le Vacherin Mont d'Or.
The ban specifically targets the import of raw milk cheeses made after May 25th in France, Italy, and Switzerland. It's because of an outbreak of lumpy skin disease in cattle in France and Italy.
This is India, 2022. That's what this says right here. That's literally what this screenshot is. Look, I'm going to remove my camera. This is a photo of Indian cows, yet they're talking about an outbreak of France and Italy skin disease. But the skin disease is clearly on the cows. So they're getting the raw milk from India. Is that what's going on? And then they're sending the raw Indian diseased milk to France and Italy to make the cheese. I think we're starting to see a pattern with India. Like, lots of negative things coming out of India.
Not a disease that can affect humans. It's a disease that affects cows, but it can be very serious because it causes fever, and also it causes growths on the body. It reduces milk production. It can be a devastating ailment for cattle.
Canada's Food Inspection Agency said in a statement the disease is not a public health concern to humans, but they want to prevent it from spreading to Canada's cows. The virus is normally transmitted through insects, but the agency says unpasteurized cheeses can also carry the disease.
What was your reaction when you heard that there's this ban?
Quelle horreur. C'est dommage. Celia Banninger says she hopes the ban is lifted soon.
No, I mean, we won't be able to smuggle it in or anything. I don't know how we can make do. But, you know, there are a lot of worse things in the world. We'll manage.
Jourdain agrees. He says he has a backup plan.
This is a perfect example.
He says he's stocking up on substitutes that are compliant from Europe and from Quebec. Meanwhile, France's agricultural ministry says they've been vaccinating cattle since July 18. So Jourdain is hopeful he can restock his shelves with French, Swiss, and Italian cheeses soon.
Nothing screams Canada first like getting diseased raw cow milk from India. Yeah, quite the news for Canada. Le fromage, the cheese is bad. All right, next up, we're going to take a look here at how Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith is disappointed with Imperial Oil job cuts.
Calgary-based Imperial Oil says it will lay off roughly 20% of its workforce by 2027. The premier calls this move disappointing and says it reinforces the need to build more pipelines. Imperial says the cuts are part of a broader restructuring plan and will save the company about $150 million a year. Imperial Oil says it has reached a tentative agreement to sell its multi-building office complex in Calgary and lease back the space that it will still need. Based on employee numbers from the end of last year, the layoffs will impact about 1,000 jobs. Danielle Smith blames Ottawa for the layoffs.
The industry for the last 10 years has been hampered and hobbled by federal government decisions. And if we can realize the aspiration of building our pipelines north, south, east, and west, doubling our production, then there's a lot of opportunity for people to be able to get reemployed in this sector.
Federal Energy Minister Tim Hodgson also calls the restructuring deeply disappointing. He says his mission is to make sure companies like Imperial stay prosperous as the government of Canada works to make our country an energy superpower.
Yeah, Canada becoming an energy superpower under the Liberals. I got $10 on the fact that I don't see that happening. My goodness. What deals do we have left? I mean, President Trump has already secured quite a few energy deals with other massive countries with trillions of dollars of investments. Not that there isn't room for Canada to get any of those deals, but what actual dollar figure has Canada secured in terms of investments? Canada just went behind America's back to Mexico, and we're working on our relationship with Mexico to strengthen our trade relationship. What does that mean? Your guess is as good as mine. We don't have a dollar figure. We don't know what that means. We know that Canada and Mexico's trade was, I think, $40 billion in 2023, 2024. Now it's going up, and it's going up with the UK, and it's going up with China. Everyone it's going up with other than America-ish commitments to actually going up. I don't think we've actually seen a ramp up yet. Yeah, Canada, eh? Canada, eh? Now we're going to take a look at, a potential strike that's still not being resolved.
Well, Canada Post workers, labor activists, and community members expected to hold a rally today to save the post office. This as unionized postal workers remain on the picket lines. Today's rally, planned for Toronto and Ottawa, is being called a coordinated day of action. Postal workers walked off the job last week after the government proposed a number of changes aimed at helping Canada Post survive. The most contentious reform is to end home delivery. With me now is Jim Gallant, who is a negotiator with the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. Thanks for being with us, Jim.
Thank you.
You walked off the job last Thursday after that news conference from the federal government, too, talking about some of the changes that they are expected to make, at least at this point. Where do things stand at the bargaining table? Are there any talks planned, or do we have any, at least any other details at this point?
Not a word from the government. We heard that press conference, and there's been no contact. And with Canada Post, they keep putting off giving us a new offer. And the only thing we did hear the Minister of Labor through the media say that as soon as they give us that offer, things have to move fast. Well, it's quite funny. It's another point from the government to say the union needs to bend or the union needs to work fast. But the employer, we've been, since workers voted no to their last offer, it's over 55 days now. So it's really hard when the government's pushing on one side and not the other.
We're going, on top of the, you mentioned the 55 days, but we're going on almost 2 years of back and forth. You've had, this is the second strike in this, this labor disagreement, at least at this point. You're having a national day of action today. What is your message, I guess, to those who say that, at least at this point, that the union is dragging its heels, that the union needs to, needs to update what some of the measures, because this is a company, the Crown Corporation, that has lost, $5 billion over the last 5+ years?
So what I will say first off is we've been on strike since last November. The government has paused that. They've caused votes to happen. They've had industrial commissions, but we've been on strike since November of last year. And what I can say is that the losses, any losses that they have, can sit right at their feet, because they're the ones prolonging this. The government put a 6-month hold on our strike mandate. All those sorts of things, but we are the economic engine of Canada. We deliver things like democracy, because we deliver voting material. We deliver food to the North and to Indigenous communities. We're part of the food chain, but it seems like people doing all that good work for Canadians, the government doesn't think we deserve full-time jobs. They want to gigify our jobs. They want to make sure that we don't make as much as the other carriers. Our wages are lower than the American equivalents that are running around neighborhoods delivering parcels from the government. We need all of the public to get behind this. It's a use it or lose it. We need to make sure that there's a post office for the next generation.
And certainly understand the importance of post offices, especially in rural communities, something the government wants to eliminate. I want to get your thoughts too, in particular, on door-to-door delivery. Would you be willing, or is there any circumstance, you touched on, you touched on rather some of the things and some of the importance that workers do provide in some of those services, but is there any sort of agreement that the union would agree to see door-to-door delivery end in favor of community mailboxes across the country?
Why ever would a public service end door-to-door delivery when the equivalent, I guess, in the public world, all the UPSs, the FedExes, even Amazon delivers to the door. Well, how is the public service going to compete with those entities and make it so there actually is a service? They're cutting all the service, and really the government is acting like Amazon did in Quebec. As soon as a union showed up in Quebec, Amazon left, and that's what the government's doing. They're leaving unionized employees behind. Don't we deserve full-time jobs? That's the question.
Okay, Jim Gallant, a negotiator with the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. Thanks, Jim, for this.
Thank you.
Man, Canada Post, they should be renamed to Canada Strike. Holy crap. They are just constantly on strike, man. This is crazy. Now we're going to get into some question period here, folks. This is what everyone's waiting for, right? Should be good. Mark Carney versus Pierre Poilievre. All I ask is that you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. That's it. It's free to do. Very easy. Without further ado, here we go. They're in the house.
Their journey with breast cancer. Thank you. You're not only raising awareness, but helping tackle the stigma associated with women's health. To all the ladies, I want to give a very special shout out to my friend Pam Cholak. Keep on fighting. You make the world a better place. To all the ladies out there putting off getting a mammogram, talk to your doctor today. To everyone out there in a battle with breast cancer, keep fighting. We are all cheering for you. Not today, cancer.
The Honourable Member for La Prairie, Atatakan. Mr. Speaker, today I wish to mark the incredible achievement of the Canadian Rugby 15's women's team, which last week overcame the terrifying haka of their opponents to trounce reigning champions, the Black Fern, in the World Cup semi-finals, achieving a historic victory before falling to the Red Roses. Anyone with the slightest experience on the rugby pitch knows that rugby is the quintessential team sport. It is impossible to win without teamwork and team unity. And our Canadians demonstrated this value both on and off the pitch.
What is this about, women's rugby?
I want to celebrate the courage and determination of these women who will no doubt inspire an entire generation of young female athletes. Thank you. You have represented your country.
Did anyone see that? Has anyone seen that women's rugby?
To the Hamilton steelworker and the workers of Arvin Avenue who lose sleep over job security and the recently unemployed, you have done everything right. This Prime Minister can't make a deal, and he has failed you. To the many who visit food banks in Hamilton, you have done everything right. The Liberal inflation food tax has failed you. To the many who don't feel safe walking down the street in your own neighborhood, you have done everything right. The Liberal soft on crime policy has failed you. The Liberals had a chance last week to vote for a Conservative motion that would put violent repeat offenders behind bars. They voted against it. Soon we will have a vote on the Conservative Jail Not Bail Act. I hope they join us in that vote. Today, we will vote on a Conservative motion to lower food inflation. Will the Liberals do the right thing and vote with us and Canadians?
I freaking doubt it, but we'll have to see.
Hey. I'm pleased to mark 3 anniversaries that are important to Bertie Maskinongi's history. First, St. Gabriel de Brandon has turned 200. On the shores of Lake Maskinonge, it is a jewel of the Lanaudière. It is the 175th anniversary of St. Paulin, an incredible municipality shining in the heart of Maskinonge. And St. Edouard de Maskinonge is turning 75. Our bodies of water, forests, and agriculture are visible in all 3 of these municipalities. These milestones remind us that every village, every generation have shaped our region. Congratulations to all of the many engaged citizens who make the community spirit shine in our region. Together, let us honor the past and continue towards a future that lives up to our history. The Honourable Member for Honoré-Mercier.
National Energy Efficiency Day. Energy efficiency saves Canadians money, cuts pollution, and creates jobs. The sector employs nearly 500,000 Canadians and has the potential to create a lot more. Energy efficiency circulates money back into all of our communities and contributes positively in all of our ridings. As we strive to be the world's top energy superpower, Canada must invest massively in energy efficiency projects to strengthen our economy. Whether through accelerating the use of heat pumps, insulation, LED lights, or smart thermostats, energy efficiency is key to greener, healthier, prosperous Canada. That's why energy efficiency deserves to be treated as a priority, not just today, but every day. I urge you all to officially recognize October 1st as National Energy Efficiency Day. Hear, hear.
The Honourable Member for Portage-Lisgar.
The Prime Minister has been racking up the air miles lately, and Canadians are only seeing postcard pictures to show for it. I'm starting to wonder if he's traveling to the UK so much just to pick up the extra clothes that he left at home. Now, if we measured success by jet lag and passport stamps, this Prime Minister would earn top marks. But here are the facts, Mr. Speaker. He promised to remove tariffs and diversify markets, yet our canola producers are now facing crippling tariffs. He promised the fastest growing economy in the G7, but we're actually the fastest shrinking economy. He said to judge him by grocery store prices, but they're rising faster today than when he became Prime Minister. And he said we're going to, quote, spend less and invest more. But somehow his deficit is set to be billions more than even his predecessor. Last time I checked, Canadians care about grocery store prices, about out-of-control crime, and stronger take-home pay, not photo ops in foreign capitals. Since the Prime Minister has failed to keep his promises, maybe he should park the plane, stay for a while, and actually work on improving the lives of Canadians.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Member for Peterborough.
If you guys haven't yet already, hit the like button.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to congratulate the Canadian women's rugby team on their inspiring performance at the World Cup of Rugby.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
The Honourable Member for Peterborough.
Who's this that's crossing the floor? Pierre's shaking hands with the enemy. You see that? Look at that. Pierre is, let me move my camera. That's Pierre Poilievre right down there, shaking hands with a liberal. Come on, Pierre. Come on.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to congratulate generations of female athletes. So today, I rise to not only congratulate you, but to thank you. I thank you not only as a woman and a female athlete, but as a mother of a one-year-old daughter who will grow up watching the strength of female athletes on the world stage to sold-out stadiums. My hope is that her generation will see this as the way things have always been. But you and I will know. Thank you, Team Canada, for inspiring us and propelling the future of women's sports forward.
Yeah. The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
For once in this place, we can all agree on something. Congratulations to the 2025 Toronto Blue Jays. They stand tall, champions of the American League. Clinching the division isn't just baseball, it's a public service. Now the rest of Canada can stop doing playoff math like deranged accountants in the most stressful reality show there is. To the Jays, you've rocked the dome, you've made this country proud, you've given us permission to believe that this is our year. On behalf of Canadians from coast to coast to coast, best of luck in the playoffs. May the bullpen stay steady and the bats stay hot, because this year we want it all. Fly all the way south to the World Series, boys. October is for the birds.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Honourable Member for Fredericton, Oromocto.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the Woolastook Grand Council and Under One Sky for welcoming me and my family to their Truth and Reconciliation events yesterday. Hundreds of community members gathered at sunrise to remember through ceremony all those who never made it home after being sent to residential schools. Dans l'après-midi, plusieurs d'autres.
In the afternoon, others gathered on the Sedansk powwow land to celebrate stories and songs and to dance.
Hit the like button, guys, if you haven't already.
It is a powerful reminder of resilience faced with oppression.
Reconciliation is listed in that order. It starts with the truth of our past, listening deeply and sitting with that truth no matter how uncomfortable. Only then can reconciliation begin. But reconciliation is also about hope and the belief that not only a better relationship is possible, but that it is necessary for us to live up to our full potential as a country. Uliwan, merci. Thank you.
Good job. The honourable member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Canadians deserve to live in peace and security. That security was shattered like bullets through broken glass at a radio station in Surrey once again. Swift Radio was hit with a third extortion-related gunfire attack just yesterday. I spoke with owner Colwant Desi, who had invited me to his station earlier. He said his family cannot sleep. This joins with countless other examples in Brampton, Surrey, and now in a spate of shootings in Laval. Here are the facts. Violent crime is up 54% under this Liberal government's catch-and-release bail system. Extortion is up 330% after Liberals lowered penalties for extortion with a gun. And extortion is up 600% in BC alone. It is time to repeal these Liberal catch-and-release laws, restore order at our border, and bring peace and security to our people.
Yeah, well said.
The honourable member for Pickering, Brooklyn. Just a moment. Well, I didn't catch that, but I'll ask the honourable member for order, please, colleagues. We still have one statement left. The honourable member for Pickering, Brooklyn.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to draw attention to a deeply troubling development. The second phase of excavation at the Chimney mass graves in Sri Lanka concluded on September the 6th, uncovering the remains of 240 men, women, and mostly children. According to Amnesty International, Sri Lanka has one of the highest number of enforced disappearances in the world, with estimates of up to 100,000 over the decade. Each of these cases represents a profound loss for families still seeking answers. As the UN Committee on Enforced Disappearances reviews Sri Lanka's record, I call on this House to remember the disappeared, to stand with the families, and to honor the dignity of those whose lives were taken. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Were they Canadian lives?
Oral questions.
Oral questions. Questions. All right. Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Pierre Poilievre.
After the Prime Minister broke his promise to, quote, negotiate a win with the Americans by July 21st, lumber tariffs have more than doubled, and job losses are piling up. Cap Paper is potentially laying off 300 workers in Northern Ontario. That's on top of 800 workers who are losing their jobs at Imperial Oil. TransCanada and Enbridge are building more in the United States as their headquarters move south after the Prime Minister broke his promise to build, baby, build. Doesn't the Prime Minister realize that when he doesn't do his job, Canadians lose theirs?
Here. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Here. Mr. Speaker, our sympathies are with the families of the workers at Imperial Oil. Our actions are with the workers and the management of Cap Paper, who are having meetings with the Minister of Industry, a variety of other government officials today to work. Our support is foursquare behind Algoma Steel, with $400 million between the federal government and the province of Ontario to build Canada strong.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Since he took office, 86,000 more Canadians are unemployed, and we have the second highest unemployment in the G7. This is all the result of out-of-control government spending and taxes. Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians, and now the Parliamentary Budget Officer rates his deficits as, quote, very alarming, stupefying, shocking, unsustainable. If you don't change, this is done. Something is going to break. We are at the edge of a cliff. Those are the words of the Parliamentary Budget Officer. When will he stop his out-of-control spending? When he's over the edge of the cliff?
Wow.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, there's a little thing called
What
cause
the
and
heck
effect.
is that?
And the cause that the Leader of the Opposition is missing is the U.S. tariffs. The U.S. tariffs that are hitting steel, the U.S. tariffs that are hitting lumber, the U.S. tariffs that are hitting our auto sector. That's why we need to build this country strong. That's why we're getting spending under control. That's why we're going to spend less to invest more. I believe in this country, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the...
That was a horrible
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Spend less? Deficit spending is up almost 100% since this Prime Minister took office. And as for investment, it has fallen. In fact, $50 billion of net investment has left since he took office. And yet he repeats the same promises the Liberals have been making for a decade. They said their deficits would lead to more investment. Since they took office, investment is down by 10%, the worst investment record in the G7. In fact, with $600 billion more debt under this government, investment has fallen. How much more debt would they have to add on the backs of Canadians to reverse this disastrous result?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well said.
Mr. Speaker, once again, it's time for a little fiscal lesson for the Leader of the Opposition.
Oh, here he goes, condescending.
Strongest credit rating in the world, AAA, S&P, and Moody's. Lowest deficit in the G7, lowest debt level in the G7, lowest net debt to GDP in the G7, biggest potential in the G7. This side of the House believes in Canada. Come join us.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I know that sometimes it gets heated in this place, and recently I said that this Prime Minister was just as irresponsible with money as Justin Trudeau, and I now realize that that was unfair to Justin Trudeau. In reality, he has increased the deficit by almost 70% above what Justin Trudeau left behind. And now the Parliamentary Budget Officer describes this Prime Minister's deficits as alarming, stupefying, unstable, unsustainable. If you don't change, this is done, and something is going to break. How is it even possible for this Prime Minister to be more fiscally incompetent than the drama teacher?
Well said.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
But he believes you. I can't imagine, Mr. Speaker, I can't imagine why it gets heated in the House with language like that.
Yeah, exactly.
The former Prime Minister. Spending review. This government is building houses. This government is building projects in the national interest. This government is building Canada strong. Come join us.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Put some L's down in the chat for him. That was garbage.
Mais ça vient d'une vraie...
Mr. Speaker,
there he goes,
coming
the
from a
French.
real economic expert, the Parliamentary Budget Officer has said that this Prime Minister's deficits are very alarming, stupefying, shocking, unsustainable. If you don't change something, this is done. Something is going to break here. Canada isn't over the cliff yet, but it's looking out over the cliff. Mr. Speaker, every dollar being spent by this Prime Minister is coming out of Canadians' pockets. Will he finally recognize that Canadians can no longer pay the bill for his incompetence?
That's right.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, Canada has the strongest economic record in the G7. Canada has some of the lowest long-term interest rates in the G7, lower than the American rate. On this side of the House, we have a great deal of ambition. We will build Canada strong.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised the Canadians would be able to judge him by their experience at the grocery store. Well, that experience is what is now being called struggle meals, where Canadians are now sharing tips on how they can scrounge together meals that are often of lower nutritional value because that's all they can afford. Food price inflation has accelerated to almost double the Bank of Canada's target, rising 50% faster in Canada than in the United States since this Prime Minister took office, promising the reverse. Will he finally axe the Liberal taxes on groceries so that Canadians can afford to eat?
The right honourable Prime Minister.
Monsieur le Président, il n'y a pas.
Mr. Speaker.
Weird.
There is no GST on groceries.
Number two, we cut the carbon tax. There's no carbon tax. There's no carbon tax on farms. There's no carbon tax on grocery stores. There is no carbon tax. No, there's not. On anything under 50 kilotons. Monsieur le Président, but we see the big picture. We know that real wages have been growing every single month since I became Prime Minister.
Carney has no idea what he's doing in the House.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, the government has just interfered in an already very complex negotiation within Canada Post. And I can only call that provocation in the context of an already very complicated conflict. The government is adding to the uncertainty that is being felt by many families, not just workers' families. It is creating uncertainty in various towns in Quebec's regions, and I expect elsewhere in Canada as well. It's also causing a great deal of alarm to seniors. So let me get this clear. What does the Prime Minister think of the Postal Service? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Postal Service is an essential service. We need a viable postal service. Currently, the situation is difficult.
Look at this guy. They even attacked this big, strong guy, right? Didn't you get attacked?
Is losing millions of dollars. We need to take action. We need to restructure. The Honourable Member. I think that the government's deficit is going to be much larger than Canada Post's losses. But if this is really an essential service, Mr. Speaker,
it's literally losing like over $1 billion a year.
Why are these radical cuts being made? Let's show some consistency. And workers learned about these cuts on their TV rather than actually hearing about what's going to happen. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I have just arrived here as Prime Minister. It has been some time that we've needed to have changes at Canada Post because it is an essential service throughout the country. The Honourable Member. Mr. Speaker, if Quebecers and Canadians had wanted to have the Conservative Party in power, they would have voted for the Conservative Party. The Liberals' fiscal and climate and oil strategies are basically conservative strategies. Same thing with these austerity strategies. Will the Prime Minister put an end to his wrong-headed strategy and instead bring in serious experts to reform a postal service that does, in fact, need reform? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, it is Canada Post's and the union's responsibility to find a solution between themselves. But in this context, we need more flexibility for Canada Post in a manner that is consistent with the report.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
Every dollar that the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians in Liberal taxes and inflation. The Prime Minister should know this. He calls himself a great economist, but he's going to spend over 60% more than even Justin Trudeau did. Parliament's independent fiscal watchdog says this, quote, "It's alarming, it's stupefying, it's shocking, and it's unsustainable." He says something is going to break and that we're on the edge of a fiscal cliff. So why is the Prime Minister going to drive us off that cliff at full speed?
Well said.
Mr. Speaker, that's why we said that we need to spend less so we can invest more. Unlike the Conservative Mr. Speaker. I believe in Canada. I believe in Canadians. I believe in the will of this nation. We have the talent to lead in the 21st century. We have strong industry. We build planes. We build cars. We build ships. We have critical minerals. We have energy. We're the only country in the G7 to have a free trade agreement with all the other G7 nations. Instead of talking down Canada, they should celebrate the work of this government.
Not for long, dude. Trump's going to rip up Kuzma.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, it is this Liberal that in 2015 promised that massive deficits were investments. But it was all a bait and switch because investment collapsed while debt went through the roof. But instead of sobering up from the debt binge that they've been on, the Liberals are just going to keep spending more money in a forever hangover. That means higher taxes and higher inflation for every Canadian. The first step in fighting addiction is admitting you have a problem. So when will the minister stand up and finally admit that his reckless spending is sending us over the cliff?
I love that.
Mr. Speaker, same old Conservatives, Mr. Speaker, same old slogan, Mr. Speaker. She might have missed that we cut taxes for 22 million Canadians, Mr. Speaker. She might want to talk to people in her riding and across the nation. The first thing that this government did was to tackle affordability. You know why, Mr. Speaker? Because that's what Canadians told us. They also told us to build homes. That's why we created Canada Homes, Mr. Speaker. They told us to build the most resilient economy. That's what we're going to do. We're going to build the most resilient economy in the G7. We're going to be strong. We're the North.
The honourable member for Calgary, Midnapore.
The Liberals assured us in 2015 that running massive deficits was an investment. A decade later, we all know that it was just a bait and switch. The reality is that despite consistent efforts to falsely stimulate the economy, investment in Canada has collapsed. 10 years of Liberal broken promises. Debt up equals investment down. We know that this budget will have a massive deficit, but does the Prime Minister really expect Canadians to believe that doubling down will change the results?
Yeah. The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, we're retooling the Canadian economy by advancing national projects of interest. We're making Canada the strongest economy in the G7. That means shortening project reviews to 2 years and removing duplication while maintaining the environmental standards and are working with Indigenous peoples. Mr. Speaker, we are making Canada stronger. It would be great if they would support us.
The honourable member for Calgary, Midnapore.
Another Liberal bait and switch. The Prime Minister promised to cap spending, yet he's on track to double Trudeau's deficits. He promised to make Canada the strongest growing economy in the G7, yet we have the worst economic performance in the group. He promised to create jobs, but in reality, 86,000 Canadians have lost their jobs since this Prime Minister took office. So when will the Prime Minister tell Canadians that the plan to grow our economy was just a scheme to get elected? Yeah.
Wow.
The Honourable
Put some dummies in the chat.
Mr. Speaker, on Friday I was just out in Vancouver celebrating the launch of LNG to be sent across to our allies. 75,000 Canadians worked on that project, Mr. Speaker. Last week we approved with the province of British Columbia the Silicim LNG facility, which will be as big again. Mr. Speaker, we are building Canada strong.
Honourable member for Northumberland, Clark.
Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of hardworking Canadian workers, families and seniors. Justin Trudeau promised that deficit spending would be an investment. The result, the debt went up, the investment went down. That gave Canada the worst economic record in the G7 and the worst inflation in 40 years. No matter what these Liberals promise, the results are always the same. More debt, higher costs and declining investment. Why should Canadians believe that this time will be any different?
L'honorable ministre de l'Industrie.
Mr. Speaker, interest rates are down, and when you look at it, wages are growing higher than inflation as we speak. And meanwhile, CPPIB CEO says that the world's largest investors are focusing on Canada.
Whose wage
Mr.
went up?
Speaker, what are we doing? We're building national major projects. We're making sure also to launch a new defense industrial strategy. We'll create jobs in this country. country. And meanwhile, the opposition needs to come on board to make sure that Canadians benefit from it as well.
Honorable député de Louis Saint-Laurent à Kiawenrak.
The honourable member for Louis Saint-Laurent
It's like just literally straight up
Mr.
lies.
Speaker, every dollar spent by this Prime Minister comes directly out of Canadians' pockets. And the Parliamentary Budget Officer has called these Liberal deficits, and I quote, very alarming, stupefying, shocking, unsustainable. If you don't change something, this is done. Those are not my words, it's the PBO. Mr. Speaker, does the Prime Minister realize that he is driving Canada directly off a cliff? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Well, economists don't agree with what my colleague is saying, because currently interest rates are going down and wages are going up compared to inflation. We are attracting capital from throughout the world, and we are going to do that through national interest projects like the Contrecoeur Port in Montreal or the Northern Quebec Rail Line that will bring everything to the Port of Saguenay. We are working on these major projects. We will build more housing, and we will also create an industrial defense strategy. The honourable member. Mr. Speaker, these were not my words. They were the words of the Parliamentary Budget Officer. In addition, the Prime Minister promised to cap government spending. But the PBO has confirmed that this is just another broken Liberal promise. Trudeau's deficits are about to double. Unbelievable. Once again, the PBO said that something has to break here. He has told us that we are very near the edge of the cliff. Could the Prime Minister rise and recognize that he is once again bringing Canada into a situation where it will be crushed by unsustainable deficits? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, is actually driving the country towards prosperity. We need to invest more and ensure that Canada is able to prosper. We have talent throughout this country. We can build cars, ships, planes. We have critical minerals. We have abundant energy. And we are the only country in the G7 to have a free trade agreement with all countries in the G7. On the other side of the House, they should be celebrating this Prime Minister's achievements. We will make Canada the strongest country in the G7. The Honourable Member for Laurentides-Labelle. Mr. Speaker, this government has caused the postal crisis. It announced its Canada Post reform without telling workers, who had to learn it in the news. They learned about it in the news, and now nobody's getting their mail. Some people are not able to get their paychecks or have to go elsewhere to get them.
At least they didn't hear about it from the mail.
Businesses are having to improvise to deliver packages, and Quebec is concerned that people won't get their ballot to vote in the municipal elections. All because the minister improvised and didn't consult anyone. What was the minister really expecting? The Honourable Minister for Government Transformation. I'd like to thank my colleague for the question, but I'd like to set things straight. This conflict has been going on for 20 months. The union was on strike. In 2024, I wasn't yet the minister, and so when she says that we did not have any consultations, well, what we're doing is actually bringing in the recommendations of the report that looked at Canada Post finances. We are bringing in sensible strategies to ensure that while Canada Post is losing millions of dollars every day, we cannot wait any longer.
Yeah, man, they're losing $1 billion a year.
Mr.
It's
Speaker,
insane.
The federal government is the one that caused this postal crisis. I have a great example. Passports. People waiting for passports that won't arrive in time will have to go into Service Canada and in some cases pay hundreds of dollars to get their passport. And Service Canada is actually under the same department as the Postal Service. Clearly, it didn't even occur to Service Canada to try to fix this, and no one asked people what should be done before turning things upside down at Canada Post. Why are Quebecers once again having to pay for Liberal incompetence?
Whoa.
The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have a plan for Canadians to get their passport.
Support people who have a situation with their passport stuck in the mail, and we are available 24/7 to help Canadians.
Honourable Member for Foothills.
We know that the Prime Minister was misleading Canadians when he cancelled the carbon tax. And I want to quote the food professor, Dr. Sylvain Charlebois, who stated it perfectly. The carbon tax...
You can't say deliberate. That's... I'd ask the member to start over without that particular language.
What did he say that was wrong?
I mean, inadvertently, but not. I wouldn't suggest that the honourable member is intentionally doing something like that.
Mr. Speaker, we know the Prime Minister was doing a classic Liberal bait and switch when he told Canadians he cancelled the carbon tax. And I want to quote the food professor, Dr. Sylvain Charlebois, who put it perfectly. The carbon tax was not eliminated. Only the consumer portion was reduced to zero. The industrial carbon tax remains in place and has actually increased since April 1st. We argued numerous times that the carbon tax across the supply chains is undermining the competitiveness of our agri-food sector. Why is the Prime Minister pulling a bait and switch and taxing farmers and the food Canadians rely on?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, the industrial carbon price is essential to our credibility as a responsible energy supplier and key to gaining market access as we diversify our exports. It's driving over $57 billion of investment, enabling carbon capture projects like the Pathways Project and reinforcing Canada's leadership as a low-emission LNG producer. Mr. Speaker, this is the right thing to do.
The honourable member for Foothills.
Well, I'd like to give the Prime Minister some facts. The fact is, food prices have increased nearly 40% since these Liberals were elected 10 years ago. I saw it at the grocery store this weekend. Pork shoulder was up 37%. My coffee was up 25%. A little package of lunch meat was almost $10. The Prime Minister said he would be judged by food prices. Food Banks Canada has now said a quarter of Canadians are struggling to put food on the table. That should never be the reality in this country. Will the Prime Minister do the right thing, support the Conservative motion, and scrap his taxes on farmers and the food Canadians rely on?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
It's getting too expensive, man.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are well aware of who has their backs, and that's why they chose this Liberal government in the last election, because over the last 10 years, they've watched Conservatives vote against all of their interests, Mr. Speaker, whether it was for programs for kids, programs for seniors, training for tradespeople, investments in agriculture. These Conservatives vote against it. I hope by the nature of that question, though, that they won't vote against the tax cut for 22 million Canadians. That's how they help Canadians, by standing with them.
The honourable member for Long Range Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar that this Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians in higher Liberal taxes and inflation. Let's start with the grocery aisle. The Prime Minister promised he would be judged by Canadians' experience at the grocery store. And since he took office, food prices have been rising 50% faster than the U.S. Greta from Trout River, a widow, has reached out saying prices on everything have gone through the roof. She can't afford to eat, Mr. Speaker. Will the Liberal Prime Minister stop taxing groceries so Canadians can afford to put food on their table?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, while the Conservative leader was busy trying to get the only job he ever had back, 3 months ago today, we cut taxes for 22 million Canadians, and we're not stopping there. We're going to cut spending on government operations so we can invest more in nation-building projects, in housing, in infrastructure, and in defense. We'll create tens of thousands of good-paying jobs. Mr. Speaker, I ask the Conservatives to cut the rhetoric and get on board. Thank you.
Honourable member for Long Range Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, the real truth is the Prime Minister's been on this job for half a year and grocery prices have already become more unaffordable. Right. The so-called struggle meals like Hamburger Helper and Kraft Dinner are trending as Canadians struggle with the high price of food, all because of things like the food packaging taxes and the industrial carbon tax. Canadians are judging the Prime Minister. Just like he expected, they're asking, they're pleading for the prices to go down immediately. groceries so Canadians can afford to eat.
Yeah, especially with Thanksgiving, Halloween, Christmas, all on the horizon.
Mr. Speaker, today we mark National Seniors Day, and I want to point out that our government has taken action to ensure that seniors in Canada can age with dignity. We're cutting red tape, we're building homes faster, and we've introduced dental care that now more than 2 million seniors have signed up for. We're building an economy that works for everyone, while the Conservatives have a record of pushing the retirement age higher. It's very rich coming from them, given that they are interested in cutting benefits and leaving seniors behind. While they're voting against support for seniors, we are empowering older Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Montmorency-Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, the cost of life is out of control. Canadians can't breathe. Food inflation is now 70% above the Bank of Canada's target. Families are paying hundreds of dollars each year to feed themselves and buy essential products like coffee and meat. Coffee prices are up in the past few months, and that's an industry that supports workers throughout the country. Does the Prime Minister realize that every dollar he spends recklessly fuels inflation and drives up the cost of living?
Yeah, it's not sustainable.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are determined to grow our economy to be the strongest one in the G7. We will increase supports to Canadians which help them. We are investing in childcare, in dental care, and in school food programs. All of that brings down the cost of living for families. It also helps Canada because it allows women to participate in the labour market more so that their families can make ends meet. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Today is National Seniors Day, an opportunity to recognize the contribution seniors have made to building our communities and our country. Yet, some are still facing delays in processing old age security and Canada Pension Plan applications. Could Secretary of State for Seniors share what steps are being taken to speed up the processing these critical applications?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Thank you so much for the question. Mr. Speaker, first I'd like to take a moment to recognize the tremendous contribution of seniors in this country. They built this country, and we assure them that this government is working hard to deliver the benefits that they deserve. Service Canada is streamlining applications, increasing automation, and improving communication with clients. We have an action plan to improve the speed and quality of service for seniors in this country, and we will implement this plan. For example, the 96% of seniors receiving GIS are now automatically renewed, ensuring continuity of service. This is the kind of work we are doing to ensure seniors are getting the resources that they have worked so hard for.
The Honourable Member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, the generation that built our prosperity is now being bled dry by the Liberal government's unaffordability crisis. A shocking new report shows that 1/3 of seniors are covering their adult children's basic costs, and 3/4 say it's draining their retirement. After 10 years of Liberal spending, costs rise and hopes slip away. Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of seniors' pockets in Liberal taxes and inflation. Inflation that will further increase with the Prime Minister's plan to double the deficit. How many more seniors will be forced to choose between supporting themselves or supporting their families?
Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, I'm so glad that the Conservatives are showing interest in Canada's seniors. This new government is taking action to empower Canada's seniors, and we are steadfast in our mission to protect the dignity and security of those who built this country through a lifetime of hard work. That's why we are taking action to ensure that low-income seniors receive the Guaranteed Income Supplement. This is a vital support that helps those with little or no income beyond their old age security. We are focused on ensuring that they receive every dollar they are entitled to, because supporting seniors is not just policy, but it's a promise we will always uphold.
The Honourable Member for King Vaughan.
After a lifetime of hard work raising their families, seniors deserve to enjoy their retirement. But under this Liberal government, that dream is slipping away. every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians in higher Liberal taxes and inflation. A new report shows 1 in 3 grandparents are now supporting their adult children and grandchildren, and 76% say it's cutting into their retirement savings. Mr. Speaker, how much more inflation will this Prime Minister add with his plan to double the deficit?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, this government is taking action to empower Canada's seniors. While the Conservatives, with their plan, folks wouldn't have been able to retire until 67. I think it's important to point out that on this side of the House, we're ensuring a strong, stable future for our seniors. We have crucial programs that provide more than $1,000 per month to the most financially vulnerable seniors, and we're focused on ensuring that they receive every dollar they're entitled to. We are steadfast in our mission to protect the dignity and seniors of those who built this country, and they...
The Honourable Member for Markham Unionville.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians. The higher Liberal taxes and inflation. A new report shows that 1 in 3 seniors are supporting their adult children and their grandchildren. What does this mean? It means that 28% of seniors help their adult children with rent or mortgage payments, up from last year. This should be a concern to everyone. When the Prime Minister doubles the deficit, how much more will grandparents have to pay to house their adult children and grandchildren?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, today is, of course, National Seniors Day, and I'm proud to wish all seniors a happy day on their day. I'm also not quite a senior yet, but I am old enough to remember when Conservatives voted against increasing the OAS. They voted against increasing the GIS. They voted against all other supports for seniors in the pandemic. They called it inflationary spending, Mr. Speaker. Did it take National Seniors Day for Conservatives to see the light, Mr. Speaker?
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, what is Liberals' 10-year present? A very damning report that came out in the newspaper, which says that 1 in 3 seniors are supporting their adult children and grandchildren. Speaker, 67% of seniors are supporting them with everyday living expenses. That's up 12% from last year.
Wow.
The Liberal government is taking money from Canadians' pockets as a result of their high taxes and inflation. Here's my question. How much more inflation will the Prime Minister add with his plan to double the deficit? The Honourable Government House Leader. Today is National Seniors Day. We wish seniors a happy Seniors Day. They are the ones who built Canada. I'd like to guarantee to my colleague that we are taking care of seniors. They voted against enhancing the GIS for seniors. They voted against enhancing benefit payments for those over 75, and they wanted seniors to work until age 67 before retiring. Seniors Day today is a great occasion to remind them of all that.
Every dollar this Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians because of higher Liberal taxes and inflation. This Prime Minister said we should judge him based on the prices at the grocery store. Well, let's. Food inflation in Canada is rising 50% faster than in the United States. Food bank usage is at record highs and rising. The St. Thomas Elgin Food Bank will have to feed 30,000 mouths this year, the 3rd straight year of record highs. The Prime Minister said he would turn this economy around because he's this brilliant banker. Why didn't he tell Canadians that on his watch, more than ever, would need a food banker?
Yeah, that was good. Still a bit of a repeat of what every other Conservative has
Mr.
said,
Speaker,
though.
one of the best ways to combat inflation is to create real opportunities for Canadians. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to be building. We're building, Mr. Speaker, building homes, building projects in the national interest with Canadian lumber, Canadian steel, Canadian unionized workers, Mr. Speaker. We are optimistic about Canada's future. Will the Conservatives get on board?
I'd like to see new questions being asked.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's been caught plagiarizing again. This time, he's copying his protege, Justin Trudeau. Trudeau promised that deficit spending would be an investment. And what happened? When the debt went up, investments in Canada collapsed. Then after COVID, he said he would remake the economy with deficit spending. This gave Canada the worst growth in the G7 and the worst inflation in 40 years. No matter what Liberals promise, debt and costs go up and growth and investments go down. Why would it be different in any time different this time?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Sport.
Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker. You know what helps Canadians? Cutting their taxes for 22 million Canadians, and that's what we did earlier this year, Mr. Speaker. We're supporting affordability measures with actual policies, not just rhetoric in the House of Commons, not with misinformation. Mr. Speaker, time and time again, these Conservatives have stood up in the House to suggest there's taxes on groceries. Canadians know better. They can read their bill. They can go to into the bill. They see there's no taxes on coffee beans. There's no taxes on meat. There's no taxes on craft dinner. Mr. Speaker, when are the Conservatives going to show up with some real ideas to support affordability for Canadians?
Honourable member for Calgary Crowfoot.
Mr. Speaker, that's not an answer. That's just another Liberal bait and switch. The Prime Minister promised to cap spending. Promise broken. The Prime Minister is going to double Justin Trudeau's deficits. The Prime Minister promised Canada would have the strongest economy in the G7. Promise broken. Canada now has the slowest economic growth in the G7. This tired, old, incompetent government has presided over 10 years of economic and fiscal vandalism. When will they finally rein in their out-of-control inflationary spending?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Speaker, on April 28th, Canadians made a clear choice between a leader with business and economic experience versus a leader with none. We are laser focused on cutting taxes for 22 million Canadians. We are cutting taxes for first-time homebuyers. Interest rates are low, and we will build homes at a scale not seen since the Second World War. Mr. Speaker, we will build the strongest economy in the G7. I ask the Conservatives to cut the rhetoric, get on board.
Let's see it, though. Enough of we will. How about let's see it happen.
The Parliamentary budget officer just pulled the fire alarm. He called our finances, quote, very alarming, stupefying, shocking, and unsustainable. He warned, quote, if we don't change, this is done. Something's going to break. We're standing at the cliff's edge, and for the younger generation especially, this is their future at risk. Every dollar this Prime Minister spends today comes out of Canadian pockets tomorrow in higher taxes and higher inflation. Will the Prime Minister keep marching Canadians toward the cliff off doubling deficits, or will he finally turn back before it's too late?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know where the Conservatives have been for the last 4 months, but we have crisscrossed the country talking to, consulting, and listening to Canadians. Their message was resoundingly clear. They want us to spend less in government operations, invest more in nation-building projects, strengthen our economy, building the most resilient economy in the G7. Again, please, Conservatives, stop the rhetoric. Join with us. Get on board. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Richmond-Arthabasca. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister has once again been caught red-handed, copying. Mr. Speaker, he's copying Justin Trudeau. No, Mr. Speaker, just no. The Liberals have chosen Justin Trudeau's top advisor. You know what, Mr. Speaker? This Prime Minister is worse than Justin Trudeau. The Parliamentary budget officer was very clear. The current situation cannot go on. Debt has skyrocketed. Investment in Canada is in free fall. We have the slowest growth in the G7. And what's the result of all that? Debt is increasing. Cost of living is increasing. The Prime Minister is following the same recipe with the same ingredients. Does he really think he'll get different results? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, it's clear that the colleague just took a question his leader gave him in English and translated it into French for us. The answer is very clear, though. Interest has come down We are working to attract more foreign capital through our major national projects and our international defense strategy. We will ensure that we're creating more jobs everywhere in Canada.
It's always future. We will ensure. We will ensure. We will ensure. We will build. We will do this, and we will do that.
On this day, we pay tribute to the invaluable contribution of
It's never
seniors
we are
who built
doing
and shaped
this.
our
We
country.
have done
However,
that.
many of them are wondering whether they will be able to continue to age with dignity in their communities. Can the Secretary of State tell us what the government is doing to guarantee seniors the right to affordable housing? The Honourable Member, the Minister for Employment and Families. I'd like to thank the member for Argenteuil-La Petite Nation for his excellent question. National Seniors Day is an excellent opportunity to thank seniors for everything that they have done for us and for our country. Our government respects seniors. Seniors want to age in dignity in their homes and in their communities where they feel good, where they feel at home. We have over 50,000 seniors, 50,000 housing units set aside for seniors, and a significant amount in the Housing Protection Fund in order to guarantee that seniors have affordable rental units.
Mr. Speaker, soft on crime liberal policy has led to gun crime skyrocketing to 130%. Canadians are being terrorized by violent repeat offenders and gangs, yet these liberals are focused on harassing law-abiding citizens with a gun grab that cost $750 million. The public safety minister admitted the scheme won't work, but he's going ahead with it anyways. This isn't keeping Canadians safe. It's political theater, and we all know it. When will the Prime Minister protect Canadians and fire this failed public safety style minister?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Hey, if you guys haven't yet already, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 131,000
launched this morning in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia.
subscribers.
It's a pilot that will be expanded across Canada, Mr. Speaker. I'm also pleased to announce that a number of individuals who are law-abiding gun owners have registered and are looking forward to the compensation that they're going to receive, Mr. Speaker. Canadians are law-abiding people, Mr. Speaker. Gun owners are also law-abiding, and they will be seeking compensation for this program, and we look forward to its implementation across Canada.
So he's admitting that gun owners in Canada are law-abiding, yet he's punishing law-abiding gun owners in Canada. I don't think you can invent such level of retardation.
The Honourable Member for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Public Safety Minister, while speaking to his tenant on the Liberal gun confiscation program, said, quote, "Don't ask me to explain the logic to you on this," unquote. His tenant, "But we're not the problem," unquote. The minister's tenant is 100% correct. Canadians know hunters, sport shooters, and other law-abiding gun owners are not the problem. But under this minister's gun crime is up 130%, with illegal guns being smuggled in through his leaky border. Will this Prime Minister finally fire this minister today for not keeping Canadians safe?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, we are fighting crime on all fronts. We are fighting guns at our borders by historic investments. We are in the process of hiring more CBSA and RCMP officers. We have a bill in this House, C2, will help fight criminal organizations and make our borders stronger, Mr. Speaker. But getting assault-style rifles and shotguns out of our communities is also important. We're going to make sure that we do this on all fronts, Mr. Speaker. There are still 19,000 other makes and models available for hunters and sports shooters, and they can use those options.
The Honourable Member for Provencher.
Mr. Speaker, loose lips sink ships. In a stunning display of incompetence, the Public Safety Minister has admitted that spending $750 million on a gun grab won't work. This same minister has lost track of 600 foreign national criminals and failed to hire the 1,000 additional border guards. Canadians want a government who can keep them safe. But instead of protecting Canadians, this Prime Minister would rather protect his public safety minister and their flawed ideology. The ship
stupid.
is sinking. Will the Prime Minister fire his Minister of Public Safety?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, firearm tragedies are obviously a tragedy in this country. We've had another example, sad example of that today. What Canadians have clearly expressed to this government, and indeed all parliamentarians, is that Canada needs to distinguish itself in getting rid of assault-style weapons in our society. This party has always supported measures that would accomplish that objective. That party has always stood up against measures that would accomplish that objective, Mr. Speaker. They need to get serious about guns.
Law-abiding gun owners are not the problem.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday I attended a ceremony to honor survivors of a residential school that operated for decades in my riding. Together we unveiled a plaque in multiple Indigenous languages so that in some small way they were able to reclaim what was stolen. The elders and knowledge keepers reminded us that true reconciliation occurs when communities have a seat around the table as decisions are being made. There cannot be any shortcuts around Section 35 rights. Can the Minister of Northern and Arctic Affairs update us on work being undertaken by the government to ensure that nation-building projects are developed alongside Indigenous right holders right from day one? Thank you, Mr.
Honourable Minister of Northern and Arctic Affairs.
Thank you, Member of Parliament Ben Carr. Mr. Speaker,
Apparently that's a no-no.
I'll allow the member to start over. I'll allow the member to start over without naming names. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah, you have to say their job, their title.
You're good. Mr. Speaker, no project will move forward with honoring Section 35. As the Prime Minister said, meaningful consultation and cooperation are at the heart of our new government's approach to nation building. The Indigenous Advisory Council brings First Nations, Métis, and Inuit from day one to strengthen, not replace treaty and constitutional duties. With capacity funding and the double $10 billion Indigenous loan guarantee, Indigenous people will help shape and share in the projects. Following the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, we reaffirm our commitment to lasting, respectful partnerships.
The Honourable Member for Kenora, Kiiwetinoong.
Northern Ontario was hit with devastating job news this week, Mr. Speaker, when Cap Paper and Kapuskasing announced plans to close their mill, directly affecting 300 jobs and indirectly many more. The company is blaming a lack of federal supports for this decision, saying that although a program was announced months ago to help, nothing is going to be available in time to save this mill. Mr. Speaker, this is completely ridiculous, and it's incompetence at its worst. Why have the Liberals broken their promise to these workers by making big, grand announcements and then leaving Northern Ontario abandoned?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Speaker, the closure of Cap Paper is a gut punch to workers, to their families, and of course to communities. And the federal government is at the table and willing to help. The province needs to come back to the table. That being said, I'm meeting along with the Minister of Jobs, the executives of Cap Paper this afternoon, and we're in solution mode. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Winnipeg Centre.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal government is siding with Canada Post executives to help privatize the Postal Service. And what does that mean, Mr. Speaker? Cuts to services for seniors, the disability community, and rural areas, while attacking good-paying union jobs. Well, today, Mr. Speaker, postal workers said no more, rallying on Parliament Hill to tell the Prime Minister no more cuts to Canada Post. Why does the Minister stop what he's doing, actually do his job, protect public services, and stop attacking workers?
The Honourable Minister of
looks hungover or something.
Thank you, Mr.
Hydrated.
Speaker. And to the contrary, Mr. Speaker, it's because we realize on this side, and we know full well that Canada Post is an essential institution to the fabric of our nation, that we're making and taking the necessary steps to put it on a path to financial viability. Canada Post, Mr. Speaker, is an institution worth saving, and it's an institution at this time that needs saving. It is losing $10 million a day. It needs to modernize. This is why we're taking the steps, making sure that we provide service all across the country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. And that sera met fin à la période.
Oh, thank God. Oh my God, that was brutal. Well, for those who missed it, I've put the Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney question period highlight down in the chat. I just put it again. It's also the pinned comment of the chat. Go check that one out for those who did miss it. We are on the cusp of 131,000 subscribers. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back tomorrow, same time, for another exciting question period debate. I'm still trying to navigate what's going on here, folks, in terms of the channel. For those who follow the many different channels that I have, MSB, Mr. Sunshine, has kind of turned into more American stuff. That's just a personal interest. It's also the interest of the majority of people that are subscribed to that channel. I understand this is House of Canada, and today was I was planning on doing all Canadian news at the start of the stream, but the White House press secretary did go live right at the same time that I was starting my stream. So I did kind of navigate to that, but I'll do my best to keep it all Canadian since this is House of Canada, and any American stuff will stay on other channels. How about that? I read the room loud and clear on that one. Read the room loud and clear. Product placement? No, that's not a product placement. I'm in an RV, limited space. Yeah, let me block it. No free advertising. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button, guys. I'll see you guys same time tomorrow. The huggies persist. I know, man. I know. We're in an RV, right? What do you do? What do you do when you're in an RV? Limited space. Thanks for watching. See you guys later. Bye. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Come on, guys. Come on. We're almost at 131.